Okay, now we're live. All right, guys, welcome to the Drag and Drive Show presented by Summit Racing for April 26th, 2023. Eric, what number is this? Is this number 18?
17, I believe.
17, episode 17. This is intense, man. Well, guys, I want to tell you my name is Michael Narks. I run dragonDrive.com and I am part of the Drag and Drive Addiction group. And Eric, why don't you introduce yourself?
I am Eric White. I run 815 LSX Swaps and Motorsports Paparazzi.
And you're a co-host of the Drag and Drive Show
I
and
am
Drag and
the
Drive
co
News,
host.
which we got some fun stuff for this week. So this week we have the participants of the $1,200 challenge. That's right, $1,200 cars bought, purchased, and raced at the circuit. We're going to have those guests on and the mastermind behind it, Mr. Redhat Scotty. He is going to be on as well. We have a new shirt that is coming that is going to be pre-order only. This is a one-off deal. And then we're going to have Zach from Cruise and Lose to talk about the event last weekend and how it all went. And then my favorite part of the episode, we're going to finish up with an update for the 2023 Drag and Drive World Champion presented by Summit Racing. That's right. We're going to talk a little bit about it. And then Saturday morning, we are going ham on it all over. It's going to be crazy. We're going to lay out the entire point series and everything like that. So little update at the end, and then we'll jump into that. All right, dude, what's next?
So you're just going to give them a little tease today and they'll have to tune in on Saturday.
Yeah. Yep. Give them the tickle.
So, news Drag and Drive Addiction Podcast. We're going to get all the backlog of episodes that we have loaded up.
Yes.
We're going to start dropping them on I would say, a fairly aggressive schedule so that we can get caught up. That
Yeah.
way we can post the new episodes as soon as we release them, like the same week that we have the show. So, Drag and Drive Addiction Podcast can be heard on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, and more. All you have to do is tell your Alexa, hey, play Drag and Drive Addiction Podcast, and it'll start playing the newest episode. I tried it today just to make sure that worked, and it did.
Man, that's pretty exciting. I don't know how often I'll listen to my own voice because it's usually in my head, but I'm going to tell you, if anybody is playing this out loud, Alexa, play Drag and Drive Addiction Podcast. And then, guys, we have another new addition to the team. So Eric's been around for a while. We know that. We never did a big intro for him, but we're doing a big intro for Alexandria Garcia. She is new to the team. She is a photographer. You probably saw her at the circuit or in some of the photos or videos that I've posted this week. She is on because one, she's a photographer. We need more of those so we can hit more events throughout the year. And then two, she is also a racer and has a high 8-second Mustang that she will actually be racing at King of the Open Road, which we are going to film. So we'll follow her along on her journey with that car. And then we're also following another racer that I'm not going to talk about yet because it's set up and everything. But guys, I want this to drop and be so exciting for you guys. But she is going to race in the 9.0 class. And this other racer is also going to race in the 9.0 class. So they will be heads up against each other. So that's exciting. We will have her on in the next, I would say probably next week. We'll have her on to do a full intro and go over her car and all of her drag and drive experience. And let's keep moving on here because we got a bunch of guests, which means a lot of conversations tonight. Eli and Redhat Scotty have been on before, but we're going to have to limit them this time. So we are found on Summit Racing this week. Let me jump in here and get it pulled up. There's a little spot if you are messing around on Summit Racing, which I hope you do almost on a daily basis, that you can find featured deals. The DeWitt's radiator, 10% off the entire brand. You've got Crow safety gear, 10% off the entire brand. Guys, check your safety dates. Make sure everything is in order before you show up at these events because we are getting to the point now where it may take a little bit of time to get this stuff to you, or the color you want may not be in stock. So you've got to wait, something like that. Do not wait for the week before to get there, even though Summit does have 4 huge warehouses across the country. Power Track's entire brand, you got to have bow tires spinning. There's no way. You just got to do that. The one wheel peel, the one tire fryer is not the way to go. And then King engine bearings, 10% off performance bearings across the entire lineup there. All these deals are found summitracing.com, as you can see up there in the top corner. All right. What's next, dude?
We have found on Racing Junk, and I want to say thanks to Chris Paget at the circuit, I rekindled my love for wagons. So found on
So
Racing
that's
Junk
what
this week.
that's what you've been searching all week.
That it is.
See what kind of wagons are on Racing Junk Classifieds. Racing Junk is the official buy sell trade classifieds of dragondrive.com.
So this first one here we're going to show is the 1977 Ford Pinto wagon, 30,000. This one's actually in Illinois, not far from me. So we'll scroll through a couple pictures. Very, very clean looking car. It's got a what is that? A boost leash box.
Mm-hmm.
So
It looks like a really nice car.
Yep, all new build, small block Ford, 363 nitrous motor, C4 PTC nitrous converter, Fab 9-inch with 430 gears, race pack dash, smart wire MSD grid.
Yeah, so it's ready to go.
Yep. Second one is another wagon, 1975 Vega wagon for 28. Dude, this thing is pretty sweet too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a fan. That looks like a race car, though.
I mean, it's a race car that you drive on the street, right?
Right.
So this one works great, goes straight, very consistent. Built by Future Tech Race Cars in 1995. So that one's pretty sweet. This next one I'm excited about. Boom.
Yes.
55,
Freedom.
55 Nomad wagon, 19 grand.
I feel like that's a deal.
It's a deal. It has a clean title, so that means you can street drive it, which means you can bring it on a drag and drive. It is a roller, everything minus motor and trans. So, pretty sweet graphics on there. I think this would be cool to see at a drag and drive event.
Yeah.
But it's probably a pretty race car. And our last one is a 2007 Dodge Magnum. This one was kind of cool. It got my attention because it was a former Mopar Max magazine project car. So 426 Magnuson supercharged engine, 950 horsepower, TH400 race trans, full cage 850 cert, 9.7 at 140 consistent trim. So this would be a pretty cool car to bring on a drag and drive as well.
Yeah, I think that car would be awesome. Plenty of space in the back for all of your stuff for sure. And how can you go wrong with a wagon? Looks like it's most of the interior too. Needs some real carpet in there though.
So that is our Found on Racing Junk segment for this week.
Awesome. And again, they're the buy sell trade classifieds of the dragondrive.com community, Drag and Drive addiction community. It's just easier to do that than run a for sale page. That sounds like no fun at all. All right, dude, let's jump into event countdown, man. We are getting close. I don't even know. The season is upon us. I added some events to the list yesterday or day before. There are now 30 drag and drive events in 2023 across the world, across the globe that we have. So if you think about that, that's a lot. And we've only had about 4 or 5 of them. So the first one that's coming due in 14 days, I guess, is Carolina Drag Cruise, May 10th through 14th in South Carolina. Has spots available still. Then you go to King of the Open Road, which you talked about earlier with Alexandria. We're going to be there. There's a lot of racers that are long-time drag and drive racers that are going to be there May 27th and 28th at Thunder Valley Raceway Park. 6th Summer from June 4th through the 9th at Cordova Dragway. And then Alaska Speed Week actually messaged me today. They opened their registration today, June 11th through 16th. Yeah, so if you're going to make that trek or be in Alaska anywhere close or, Canada anywhere, jump on that one. I think that's going to be a really neat trip. That's it's obviously a part of the world that no drag and drive has ever been in. And then BC Drag It Challenge, June 15th through 19th. Rocky Mountain Race Week 1.0 is June 24th through 30th. And I have here in my notes that it starts at Great Bend, but that is actually incorrect. It now starts at Kearney, Nebraska, and then we'll go to Denver, Pueblo, and back to Kearney. I think it's Kearney. Somebody correct me. And then the one that I'm going to be at Pitt announcing. I'm so excited. We were talking about that on a conference call earlier today about how to make that live stream that much better. I already feel like it's the best live stream in all of Drag and Drive because Pitt announcing the multiple cameras that are out there, not just of the track, but also in the pits, talking to racers and things like that. That is July 10th through 14th. Kearney, that's funny. Virginia Motorsports Park, and then Atco and Cecil, and then back to Virginia Motorsports Park. 4 days of racing, 2 pass minimum per day. I liked that format so much. That's what we used for the circuit. So you had a 3-day race that actually needed 6 passes to create your average. So you can find all these events. I just updated the blog post with event links and all of the dates and where they are for every event that's out there that I know of on dragonDrive.com/news. You can scroll down just a little bit. You'll see the event tab. So pretty exciting. Love that stuff. And then guys, I don't have it next to me for the first time in the Drag and Drive show forever. The TKO hand cleaning wipes from our Built for Drag and Drive sponsor, Sweet Patina. The reason I don't have them is because we used them last night out in the shop. Steven, my brother, came over and actually he did 90% of the work, putting the cabinets up outside so I can actually have more of an operational shop. And we used them to wipe our hands off because it was, I'm going to tell you, a lot of engine parts and things that were piled up against the podcast room. So we got those out of the way, cleaned our hands with these Sweet Patina wipes, which are great if there's no water around. And then we moved the cabinets and didn't get any stains on the cabinets. So that's pretty cool. But the reason everybody's here, I see everybody backstage looking like they're ready to come on here. But first, we've got a video to show you that Eric put together. If I can pull it up here, I'm sorry, I had it. We're talking about the $1,200 challenge, guys. This is we'll let Redhat Scotty explain some of it, but I'm going to tell you right now, this was pretty intense to watch these guys spend. $1,200 is all they had for an entire combo. So let's get this thing playing. Can you see it?
Yep.
Is it up?
No sound.
Why would it not have any sound? Hang on. I never said I was smart. All right. Well, we had this working literally right before the show.
We did. We tested
did.
it and everything.
Yep. Several times. Hang tight with me, guys. Here we go. Almost there, I promise. Talk amongst yourselves. Let's go ahead and bring Redhat Scotty in, and you can start that conversation with him while I figure this out. Maybe. Redhat Scotty, how are you, sir?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. If I could, dude, we literally had this figured out just 12 seconds ago, I promise.
Well, I mean, it's questionable at best, right?
Hey, that's the way it works. Isn't that right? Well, one of the great things, I love this challenge. You and I have been friends for a long time. I love this challenge. I love the idea behind it simply because it's so great to let people know that you can race with cheap stuff. It doesn't have to be expensive.
Absolutely, man. So that was a lot of the idea behind it. And I've had this idea for quite a few years, but I've really wanted to prove and show and encourage people. You don't have to have the nicest of nice, a super expensive car to come out and have fun. Throw something together, get your buddies and come hang out.
And that's what these guys did. I think I've got it figured out. Let's see right here. Is that better? Did that work maybe? Can you guys hear that, we need it here in the chat. All right, guys, listen, we are here with the Ramen Noodle Challenge, the $1,200 challenge. Every car that's behind me here is a $1,200 budget or less. I know that sounds pretty crazy considering there's a Fox Body Mustang and a third gen in this mix. So the plan is to go over and talk to the racers and find out a little bit of the story on where they found the cars and how much budget they've used to make the circuit race presented by Summit Racing. We're going to talk about this car in a second, but first we want to let Redhat Scotty tell the story of where this entire challenge came from.
From horrible decisions, mostly. I came up with this idea a few years ago before the pandemic, Corona stuff, when you could actually get parts that were cheap. So when we came up with this, you could actually find parts, get them cheap, and then everything went south, we all know, and the budget was already set, and we went for it. We just said, all right, we're going to do it. We like questionable stuff. So now let's hear about how questionable you got with this thing.
Yeah, because, dude, so you were telling me a little bit earlier, how long have you owned the car, and then how long did the person before you own it?
We owned the car for a week and a half today, and he owned it since '83.
Oh my gosh. So where did you buy this and how much?
So it was a buddy at work. He's been trying to sell it to me forever, and he finally broke down and came down in price to where we could get it here.
Nice.
So he lives over in Fort Smith, Arkansas, man.
Okay, you got to tell us how much money you got in it.
Okay, yeah, so $1,000. We bought it, locked up motor, hadn't run since '99. Lots of question marks whether it would even make it here this weekend. But a lot of late nights with Herb, and we've got it running in here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So have you made a pass in it yet?
No, not yet. Still have the old hard tires on there, so we're waiting until 2:30.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. We just changed our first fuel filter. Probably going to go through about 30 of them this weekend to make it all the way, but we're committed.
That's awesome. Well, as the co-pilot, what do you think about this thing?
I love it. I'm all about 80s cars.
Yes.
Doesn't matter.
Well, you have the fun haver hat on. I mean, dude, listen, I expect big burnouts. I expect these tires to not last the weekend, and some Van Halen maybe playing.
Oh yeah, I mean they're 25-year-old tires, so they should definitely not last the weekend, but we'll see what happens.
Perfect. Well, good luck, guys. Good luck. Hey. Y'all listen, the second entry, or really the first entry for the $1,200 challenge is Eli and Crystal in the, what year Grand Prix? 74 Grand Prix. This car is probably my favorite. I mean, really, I'm going to tell you. So I am going to give the microphone to Redhat Scotty and let him tell a fun story that is on the spot about a time that him and Eli have raced together.
Well, I was actually going to go with the car story.
Oh, that's
so
even better.
When we came up with this idea, we threw it out there, and I think it was maybe 6-8 hours later, Eli said that he had a car.
Yeah.
He already had it before I had the rules written. He already knew what he was going to do, and he was the first one done, like 24 hours later.
Yeah.
Which was awesome.
He was doing burnouts, I think, 24 hours later.
Yeah, for sure. He has the most test time on the car. Drove it to work quite a few times. Did some weight reduction mods, but so that was awesome that it got it that quick. Before I even had the rules written, the guy had the car.
Yep.
That was exciting.
Yeah. So now we got to find out how much it costs and what you got in it.
So I pretty much tapped the budget. I got about $1,200 in it.
Nice.
Gave $450 for the car. Was able to get it fired up and driving out of the field, and got it to my brother's place about 6 or 7 miles away. And then the gas tank started leaking everywhere. Ended up having to spend $180 on a gas tank, so I didn't get a chance to put headers or anything on it because that wasted my budget. But
and nitrous on the car?
yeah, it does have a nitrous kit on it.
Yes.
Put a torque converter in it, a nitrous kit, and welded the diff.
That's awesome. So have you made a pass in the car yet?
Yeah. It just went 14:49 a minute ago.
So currently you are the winner. You are the leading person in this class. Do you think it's going to make the full trip? How many miles have you put on it, and do you think it'll make the trip?
I've probably put like 150 miles on it or so before this event started, just driving it back and forth to work.
Yeah.
I think the road part is going to be the easy part for this car. It's 273s, just cruises down the highway, no problem. But it's the racing part, and I don't know where the timing's at. You know, I just left the timing there. I'm just spraying it. It's on 91. Don't know if the fuel pump's going to keep up with the nitrous and the motor. Don't really know. So I think we'll be fine on the drive, though.
That's awesome. Well, Crystal, now this car is way different than what you guys ran last year. Are you more of the nicer car girl, or you find riding in something like this?
I like it both, man. I like them both. It's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. She doesn't care. She's out here all the time. You guys were out here last year. You completed the circuit last year, and I almost bet you completed this year. If there's anybody that can in this group, it's you guys. All right. Thanks. All right, guys. For the third challenger here with the Arky, Austin Starkebaum. It's been a long day already. And Landry, y'all, listen, this is going to be a lot of fun. These guys have known each other for a very long time, so we should come up with some really good stories from this weekend for these guys. So, how tall was he when you met him?
Oh, he was a little tiny child, just right past baby. Right past baby.
That's awesome. So Uncle Scotty is going to help make sure you make it through the weekend. So tell us about the car. Where'd you buy it? How long have you had it? All that kind of stuff.
It's a 1990 Mustang. We got it. Where did we buy it? Butler, Missouri.
Yeah.
For $700. It was a basket case, but almost everything was there.
Nice. And then you said it was on Facebook for 4 minutes. You hooked the trailer up and you were gone.
Yep.
Yeah, that is cool. So what have you spent on it since then?
I think grand total was $1156.
Come on. Have you made a pass in it today yet?
We've made 2. Yep.
Oh, you've made 2 already. What's your fastest pass so far?
So far 15.6, but
Yeah.
we're
actually your first full pass.
first full pass. Yeah.
Wow, your first full pass on the track ever?
First time I killed it, but yeah. After that, we were good.
That's awesome.
It's a stick car too.
Yeah. So the only stick car in this grouping here.
Yeah.
So that's pretty exciting. Well, good luck to you guys this weekend.
Thank you.
Dude, so Uncle Redhat Scotty helped the guy that won the class or challenge, won the challenge, win it all. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, I was really proud of Austin. He put that car together by himself, had minimal help from his dad, did it all, came out. I mean, that was the first time a kid's ever been on the racetrack. So, I mean, I was super impressed, you know?
That's pretty awesome. And then obviously, like you said in the video, and just before that, you know, you kind of had this brainchild before that. I mean, it really shows that anybody can come out here with anything. We really expected to see some just absolute beaters come out in here in this event. And we really didn't. We had some pretty decent cars.
Yeah, we actually had some really nice cars, considering. We wanted some more. Couple of my cars didn't make it. But for the first time out and that tight of a budget, it was really cool to see, you know, the 3 cars and I mean, how they all rallied together and fought it out. I mean, they all made multiple passes.
Yeah, that's for sure. And then, well, why don't you tell us about the trophy that you had, that you built?
Yeah, so the trophy, the base of it was actually the like smog pump pulley off of my Fairmont station wagon, an LS camshaft out of one of my 9,000 LS motors I have, and then the air cleaner is actually off of my Neighbor Hater RV.
Nice.
So
that,
you know,
that
just
doesn't
kind of
need that anymore.
no, because I put an LS in it. That's probably where the cam came from.
Right.
But so I bolted it up, welded it up, and then, you know, clear coated it. It turned out pretty cool for, you know, the budget part of it. So,
right. And anytime a hand built trophy, that's always the way to go for that.
Oh, for sure. I love hand built trophies. I mean, nothing against, you know, one that's bought or made from like a trophy shop. But if somebody spends a little bit of time and makes one, it's just a little more, you know, memorable, personable, you know, things like that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
So there was 3 participants. We'll bring them on shortly. Did you expect to have more or less, or was this just about what you were expecting?
I think, well, I mean, obviously we were expecting more. I think me and Mike's last count, I think we had like 5.
No.
Obviously, mine and Noah's Thunderbird completely fell apart right in front of us.
Literally fell apart. Like
literally every time we
poking
took
holes
one
in important frame sections with your finger.
we'd take one thing off and 3 other things just, self-removed.
Yeah.
And then I had my Fairmont station wagon that I bought for $800 with the 255 V8. I put Fox Body EFI on it, and we tried to show up with it, and that also did not work.
So what did you bring instead?
We brought my NA Nightmare Mustang. It's a mid to high 12-second 5.3 cam only Fox Body.
That's awesome. And then we do want to give an honorable mention to Nico Christoferi. He probably could have won the event. He LS swapped a Fox Body for I think it was like $1,184 or something absolutely crazy. But he made it 100 miles and then literally broke it enough that it spit part of the oil pan and oil filter off.
The filter was still attached to the oil pan when the oil pan separated from itself.
Yeah.
Wow.
He pretty impressive for sure.
So do you plan on hosting this challenge again next year?
Yeah, me and Narks and Stone Cipher and a couple other people, we want to kind of revamp the rules to a more updated budget. The budget was set, like I said, years ago, and we just kind of went with it. We thought it'd be funny, and it was. We all had a good time, but I think probably need to come up with a little bit more cash so we can get a few more cars and be, a lot more competitive with it.
Yeah, for sure. And then, you saying about the rules there and the budget. I think with a little more budget, we may see some pretty creative stuff.
Yeah. The Rickety Nightmare, when I put it together, when it had the micro squirt on it, I went 1070s for like $4,500.
Oh man, that's awesome.
So, if you've got a $3,000, $3,500 budget, who knows? I mean, you could come super close to that, if not faster. I mean, there's a few guys that can tune better than I can, come up with a 6-liter versus the 5.3. So
Timothy asking, what's the budget? We don't really know for next year. I mean, are you thinking $3,000? You thinking 2,500? Maybe double it.
I don't know. I kind of want to do like something silly, like a $2,345 budget.
Yeah, there you go. Pat's asking bikes as well, just with a smaller budget. I mean, I think if you're going to build a bike, you could, we're going to need at least 2 and do a bike challenge. You can go pretty fast on a bike for $2,500.
Actually, Pat, maybe that's something to think about. If you can get a couple bike guys together, let's see if we can't do a budget bike class. I think that'd be fun.
Yep. Yeah, I think it'd be a blast for sure. Well, let's bring in some guests. The first one I want to bring in for sure is Eli, right here, one of our longtime friends. Sir, how are you this evening?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Man, we are doing good. And then we're going to bring in Austin Starkebaum as well here. Oh, looks like maybe he's muted. Can I unmute him? Nope. He has muted it. So we'll pull him off until I see that it's gone. We'll
there it is.
Right as I say that. So here's kind of the plan. We'll ask the question, and then we'll have like Redhat Scotty answer, and then we'll go to Eli and then to Austin. So it'd probably be the easiest way to loop through all that kind of stuff. So you guys ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. So the first question is, what did you guys use for the challenge? I think we kind of went over that in the video, so we'll skip that one. And then, but we definitely have to hear the full backstory of where did you find the vehicle. And so we're going to skip right over Redhat Scotty because he didn't compete. And then, so we'll start with Eli. So Eli, where'd you find that vehicle?
So the old Grand Prix was a car that my dad picked up probably about 12, 13 years ago, somewhere up in eastern Missouri on a road trip. He just saw it by the side of the road, and he had a 73 when he was younger and decided he could pick it up. So he bombed around in that car for a few years, and it got parked. I want to say the last time it got driven was probably about 6 years ago, I think.
Oh, wow.
something like that. But the deal is that the whole car was already so rusty and had been like bondoed and painted over once already. And the whole top came apart underneath the soft top. Somebody had put a new soft top over top of a rusty roof and hidden it.
Yeah.
And it just shredded. And you can stick your hands up through the ceiling and into the trunk from the outside of the car. And it was just awful. And so that's what Dad basically quit driving it, because there was just so much rain and, mildew and mold on the inside of the car. And it just got parked there. But it was still a fairly decent driving car when he did park it. So,
yeah.
I've been wanting to score it for a while because it had a good 400 Pontiac in it. And I'm kind of a Pontiac guy, and I've got a few of them. So, I hit Dad up about it when the challenge came around and asked him if he'd agree to sell it to me for cheap enough that I could do the challenge with. And he ended up agreeing to sell it to me for $450, which, funny story, I didn't even pay for that car until after we started the challenge. I'd already raced it.
Nice.
We'd already made our first contact before I gave Dad the money for it. But
you're like, hey, I've test driven this thing. It'll work. Here you go.
Yeah.
Definitely try before you buy it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd already swapped the converter and sprayed it down the track and everything else before. I was like, well, okay, I guess I'll give you the money. So I'd get past the lemon off stage.
Right. And then Austin, you kind of told a little bit where you found yours, but you got to go into more detail than what we talked about on the thing, like Facebook post, and then you're hooked up to the trailer and rolling. Tell us that story. Oh, dude, we can't hear you at all. It's barely. Try it now. Man,
super low.
Yep. Are you connected to like a Bluetooth speaker or anything like that, possibly? Some earbuds, maybe? How about now? Mm-mm. No, I mean, we can hear you, but it's so quiet. It's almost like you're connected to something.
Something that's across the room that's barely picking you up.
Yeah, maybe a Bluetooth in a car or something like that.
It's okay. Mom's coming to help him.
So you may look and see if your Bluetooth is off. We're gonna let's go back to Eli with
I think I found it.
There
we go. Okay.
The mic was turned off.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Well, yeah, we talked about where did you find your car?
Butler, Missouri. And it was listed for a few minutes till my dad actually found it on Marketplace. Messaged the guy and headed that way with money. And came back that next Saturday morning and picked it up.
So how far is Butler from you then?
An hour and a half, hour.
Wow. I bet you were the first one to show up.
Yeah. He said he had a bunch of people calling and texting him wanting to come get it.
Mm-hmm. You're like, I'm here with money. Let's go. So what'd you so I guess you just find it on Facebook Marketplace then?
Yep.
Oh, nice.
Did it run and everything when you showed up, or?
No, it was in a bunch of pieces. The engine block was on a stand and the whole car was full of parts.
Oh, wow.
Jeez. That's awesome.
But we lucked out and almost everything was there.
Very cool. So how much did you guys have total into your cars? So we'll start with Eli again.
I pretty much tapped the budget out on it. By the time I added up gas tank and some other parts and pieces, I added some value to like the nitrous kit. We kind of agreed on like $200 minimum for the nitrous kits and stuff like that. So I just went and played by that stuff, and it came up to like 1,100 and some change. And then I had to throw in some extra for the Expandafoam and silicone and self-tapping screws.
Yeah, but that puts down into safety, because that rusty stuff coming in there would have gotten your eyeballs.
For sure.
What about you, Austin?
Almost right at $1,200.
I think in the video you said it was like 11. I don't remember what you said.
Yeah, around 1160.
That's awesome. What's cool about that is you guys both went racing for $1,100 for a weekend. Like, you drove those cars 300 miles, and you still ended up with a car at the end. You can't hardly rent a car that cheap.
Right. So, what modifications were you guys able to do to the cars within your budget? Go ahead, Eli.
So on the Grand Prix, I put a carb adapter on top of the Q-Jet intake and got that nitrous kit on it, and an old Holly that I had on the shelf. Actually, it was a quick fuel carburetor that I had on the shelf. It was garbage and got taken off of something. It ran terrible the whole time. It was like, goes from idle to a giant dead spot to peeling out. There's like no idle transition at all. But ended up getting the nitrous plate, the carburetor, and I had an old converter that was in a car I'd bought. I think it was around a 2800 stall in that. And then I welded the spider gears up in that rear end in the car, and a couple other little safety things that didn't add towards the budget. I went ahead and put a safety loop in it because I didn't know what it was going to do. One of the rear control arms was pretty rotted out, so I wasn't sure if it was going to roll the rear end up and get the drive shaft or not. So
Yeah, and that was
mostly after
actually,
that, I just concentrated on trying to get enough rust out of it that it wouldn't fall in the track.
yeah, that was one of the comments earlier that I starred here was I don't know if you guys clarified this or for next year, but did the budget include safety?
No. So any safety type item is not included in the budget. But I mean, that also means, kind of be respectful of that rule. So, if you need to put a caliper on it, put a stock replacement caliper on it. Don't buy a set of TBMs, don't buy a set of Strange, things like that. Let's, keep it fair type stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and tires is one of the questions we had within the group chat was like, hey, do tires count against all this? And slicks, racing slicks did count against the budget, but like a safe street tire did not count.
If you're going to be out on the road, with other cars and friends and things like that, put a good set of tires on it. Don't, use some dry rotted crack stuff. We won't count that. But if you do get on the track and you want to run a radial or a slick, that will, obviously reflect the budget.
Yeah.
So, Austin, what were the modifications you were able to do?
We had a friend of ours give us a used set of slicks. Then we claimed, I believe it was $100 what we claimed on it to fill in the void. And then bought a used camshaft for it, and that was it performance-wise.
Gotcha.
Wow. Just a letter cam or something like a
B cam.
or E? Yeah, that's awesome.
How long did it take you to put it all together, since you said it was in pieces?
2 months. Yeah, we bought it in December. Then got it together and started fighting brake problems and got it lined out.
Gotcha.
That's awesome. Well, guys, and we'll start with Redhat Scotty. What was your favorite part of this whole challenge and doing it at a drag and drive event?
Oh, just seeing people show up and do it. I was excited to see the cars. Obviously, Eli's car is super cool. It's just a self-weight reduced Grand Prix that he threw nitrous on. Like, that's awesome. Jesse's Firebird. I mean, they dug it out, locked up motor. I think put a bunch of like Marvel mystery oil in it to free it up.
Like a gallon of it or something crazy.
And he came out and had a blast. That was cool. And then obviously Austin lives like 10 minutes from me. So being able to go over to him and his dad Jared's house and watch, him put it together and then come out and actually race. And, I was at the starting line when he made that very first pass ever. And that was really cool to be there. I remember him watching me when I was younger. So being able to watch him do it now, just super awesome to see.
Yeah,
Very
Uncle
cool.
Scotty. Eli, what was your favorite part of the challenge?
Oh, I'm kind of growing up trying to race whatever I had and just do with what I could with no money. So it was just kind of right up my alley. I've got kind of an expensive car now, and it's kind of nice to step back and do something with something cheap. And it's just like make it happen without spending money is just fun for me. I've spent a lot of time trying to step up my game with my other stuff. I got a 69 Camaro, and there's nothing cheap about that. So you can't really beat on it and have fun and just be stupid with it. And that's just part of the fun, is just not having to care about it.
Yeah, I say it all the time. People should have a car they don't care about at one point in their life. Austin, what was your favorite part of the challenge?
Probably getting to do it with Scott and still having a car to drive at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Having fun and having very little money in it. And
Right.
watching people have the same amount of fun with a lot more money in it.
Yeah. So I guess the real question is, Scotty, are you gonna come back next year with a car? Or are you gonna just keep being the race master of this deal?
Well, I mean, the goal is to bring a car. Y'all know I've got more than one car. I've got too many to count. If we do it again and we get a good, set of rules and everything, I'll bring something out for sure.
Nice.
I've got either my Fairmont station wagon. Noah and I still have the Thunderbird that at least we have an
I don't know
entire
if
year.
I would trust that car, dude. That thing was pretty scary looking.
Well, that's the best part. I don't have any money in it. So,
yeah.
I mean, if we would have got that car together, if everything hadn't fallen apart when we put it together, we would have been serious contender. That car would have been fast for $1,200, basically.
Yeah.
I had it budgeted to the penny on $1,200, and I'm guessing it probably would have went like $1,230.
That's awesome. Eli, are you going to be in the nice car next year? Or are you coming back in something cheap?
Oh, I guess it depends what the budget is. I probably won't be reading the Grand Prix again. I'll say that much. It was fun once.
Yeah. That's awesome. Austin, what about you, bud?
What was the question?
You gonna do it? You gonna come back next year in that car, or
Yeah.
compete next year in a cheap challenge like that?
Yeah, if there's another one, I'd like to do it.
That's awesome.
So this question, I guess, is more for Red Hat. But so this year they use the cars they got. Are they going to be able to use those same cars next year with a bigger budget, or are they going to have to get a different car?
It's still open right now. We haven't figured out, we just got done. So we don't know. We need to sit down and kind of, write down on some napkins and figure out what we're going to do. There actually was talk, and sorry, Austin, and I guess myself, there was talk about no Fox body Mustangs next year.
Nice. So
that's not fair.
Notice though, I said Fox body Mustang.
Oh yeah.
So now that you guys are done with the challenge, what's your plans for the car that you built? Go ahead, Eli.
Yeah, I'm probably going to part the Grand Prix out. It's got a good early block 400 Pontiac and a turbo 400 in it, and I've got an old Trans Am sitting out back that needs a new heart. So that's probably where that's going to end up going. Get the old Trans Am on the road again.
Very cool. Austin, what's your plans?
I'm not really sure yet. Part of me says to keep it and have fun with it. But there's a lot of things that I'd like to do to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Scott gets all my questions, so.
Yeah, Austin's like, I need to know if I can keep putting money in this. I need to go from a B cam to an E cam and a little bit of nitrous. So, well, guys, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it a bunch. It's been really fun. The weekend was a blast watching these cars make it through and survive the whole weekend. When I saw you guys pull back in on Sunday, I was like, they had a blast.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I mean,
good time.
That's something I try to promote with, the Questionable Performance Solutions is just come out, put something together. Yep. It doesn't have to be fast. Just come hang out. A lot of tracks are closing. It's at an alarming rate. And, we got to get people back into this a lot more. So one of my favorite quotes from David Freiberger, it doesn't have to be right, just has to be running.
That's exactly right. And hey, new tracks are being built all over the place, and we're seeing a lot of upgrades being happening as well with tracks too. So pretty exciting. There's a new track in Kansas City that's coming that we may have already been talking to about for the circuit for 2024.
Yeah, that is like about 30 minutes from my driveway.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for hanging out tonight. We'll catch up soon because I'd like to revisit the cars. Eli, keep us updated on when that motor comes out and what and the Pontiac it goes into. So
We'll do. Thanks for having me on, guys.
yeah, guys.
Yep.
Thanks, man.
See ya.
What a fun group. Thanks, Austin. Dude, what a great idea. Listen, I'm telling you, it's really cool what you did with that, and I think it will really help moving forward. I think it's going to be a great, just a whole new movement. You know, cheap cars are where it's at, man. You know, the Narcs cart, that's what it started as, a $900 Grand Marquis, you know. And
Yeah.
we beat on that thing all the time.
I know you had a blast at that thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's coming back. It's in the shop where I got it positioned on the lift. Now it's time to lift it up. It's only been back here a month. So, all right. Scotty, tell everybody where they can find you at. Where they can follow along in your journey.
I'm on Facebook, Questionable Performance Solutions. I've got the YouTube channel, same name. And, you know, I mean, a lot of people just follow me in general on the Facebook. I'm always out doing something. There's always something. Another thing to follow if you're on Instagram is The Clueless Car Wife. That is
fun.
That is my wife, Alyssa, and it's her take on being a car guy wife, and she literally has no idea what I do 90% of the time. So there's always something funny and comical going on between her and I, and she posts it up over there.
That's
Very
awesome.
cool.
That's a great idea. Melissa keeps threatening to do that as well.
Yeah, she did it, and it's been pretty funny. Like, she'll kind of ask me sometimes, you know, what I'm doing, or can I post this, or can I do that? And I'm like, that's fine. You're making fun of me, but it's totally fine.
Yeah. Please do. All right, dude. Well, thanks a bunch, man. We appreciate it.
All right, man.
Guys, make sure you go follow him. What a fun guy. And I'm telling you all the time, he's always having a great time. All right, dude. Let's actually thank one of our sponsors right out of the gate here before we move on to the next thing.
Yep.
Molly Motorsports is the official piston of dragandrive.com. Molly's Power Pack piston is the perfect candidate for your drag and drive car. Molly Motorsports competes in drag and drive events and supports our community. Project manager Eric Grillo raced a 10-second stick shift Nova at Hot Rod Drag Week 2022. He's also competed in Rocky Mountain Race Week last year with his C10 truck. Visit mollymotorsports.com for the most recent line of products.
Man, he's got such a great voice, and Molly products are always great stuff. Go fast. And I mean, like it says, Eric Grillo is a drag and drive racer. Right. So I'm sending messaging these guys. Do we want to pull up what we're going to talk about next, which I'm so excited.
I've got the picture ready. Should we pull it up?
Let's do it.
Or do we talk about it first? Do we build up the hype?
Well, I'll just tell you, there is new merch coming. We are obviously expanding the team, allows for more time. And this is a design that Eric came up with for a new shirt that is going to drop tonight. It is actually available on the website right now as a pre-order. We're going to do pre-orders until May 20th. And then we're going to have these printed by our friends at Great Apparel Printing and Design. And we're going to send these out somewhere around the 1st of June, which should be there just in time for the huge kickoff of the Drag and Drive season. Now, where Eric came up with this is literally, well, you tell the story.
Yeah, this was my first experience at a full Drag and Drive event. I've been to Drag Week and I've been to some like my local tracks, but this was my first time getting to go from track to track, hanging out with everybody, and, you know, parking lot beers and trailer burnouts. When I came home, those are my two new favorite things. And then, of course, you know, hashtag race car friends. I think that sums up just about everything. Parking lot beers, trailer burnouts, race car friends.
Yeah, that was the entire weekend. I'll tell you, this is a really fun shirt. We're going to do some fun things like this. And then, again, it is a pre-order only. We'll run this through May 20th. And then we're going to ship these out around the 1st of June. It is $30, free shipping. We'll have sizes from adult small to adult 5X. Everything's going to be the same price. It's going to make it really easy. Again, 3 weeks is the only time this is going to be open. Excuse me. I guess it's 24 days. So 3.5 weeks. Get it now. This shirt won't be offered after that for at least a very long time. And you know how we do with Drag and Drive Addiction merch. When we see you wearing it, we're going to come over, we're going to talk, we're going to say hi, we're going to get some selfies and all that kind of stuff. So the season is about to kick off. You guys saw all the events earlier. I think that's what 13 events in 9 weeks is what we said last time or something like that.
Yeah.
And then the weekend after, like that Summit Racing Midwest Drags ends, there's literally 4 events that weekend. So Midwest Drags ends on the 14th, and there's 4 that start on either the 14th or 15th and run through the weekend. So pretty exciting stuff coming up.
So where can they find this shirt at?
Oh, should we tell them that?
I think so.
Yeah, dragonDrive.com/shop is the spot to find that. And you'll scroll down just a little bit through some of the other apparel that we have, and it is right up on the webpage and should be live right now already. So it's exciting.
Yeah, I'm taking a look. I don't actually see it on the site
What?
yet.
Maybe. Ooh, I bet he put 8 p.m. Central to turn it on. I think
So-
that is exactly what happened. So in
So 9 more minutes. There you go.
Yeah, 9 more minutes. Sorry. Hey, my timing was a little bit off. All right. Well, perfect. Well, it looks like Zach is in the background backstage. We're going to be talking about Cruise and Lose. So let's go ahead and get him pulled up here. If you want to pop that down. Sir, how are you this evening?
Good. We'll see if we have any more technical difficulties.
Hey man, we are good. No more calls this week to get it all set up. Now, what we're referring to is he was on last week. We were talking about the event that was upcoming, but you guys actually had a huge weekend. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight is the Cruise and Lose 2023 event. And man, kick us off with who you are, and then let's talk about the tracks that you guys were at as well.
I'm Zach Slavin. I guess I'm one of the helpers with Cruise and Lose, along with Tyler Maggard and Landon Jensen. I guess we visited Kearney Raceway Park and I-29 Dragway and out in Pacific Junction, Iowa.
Yeah, it was a good time, and we're going to talk about some of the weather you guys got into. But how many entries did you have, and then how many of those folks completed it?
Okay, we had about we sold out. We had 80 entries. We had
Nice.
64 show up, and I rough count, I believe 56 finished.
Wow, that's a great completion ratio.
And actually, we lost most of them. We lost the like half the group within 10 miles of leaving, and then we lost the other half of the group like within an hour of Kearney. So it was kind of wild that they didn't break out in the middle.
Yeah, and then what was the mileage between the two tracks? Like 180 or 190 miles, right?
So one route was 215 and the other route was 196.
Dude,
Wow.
you guys are animals. That's, I mean, listen, for everybody that can't do math, public math, that's 400 plus miles between the event. And that's literally, you showed up Friday morning. I love this format. You showed up Friday morning and drove to the track for Friday night racing and then drove back for Saturday racing. It's pretty cool.
Yes, sir.
So this was your second year putting on this event. What did you learn in the first year that helped you make this year even better?
We just kind of learned different practices on how to handle entries, how to do data entry. Michael sent me the form that they use. That helped out a bunch, especially after I gave myself a crash course in Excel. That really made a big difference. We obviously the weather was bad. We had a buddy bringing a closed trailer this time for people to bring slips in. That made a world of difference instead of trying to do it out of a back of a Mustang. Is what I was doing it out of last year.
Yep.
And we've also this year found a lot of things we'd like to change in the future too. So I think it's an ever learning process.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly what we all do. We grew from like 25 racers to I think we had right at 100, and the learning curve between year one and year two is gigantic. So what are some of the plans that you've got for? I know you're already thinking about 2024. What are some of the plans you've got for it?
Man, it's kind of wild. We're trying to see if it's kind of all up in the air. We've had half our racers say they'd love to add another track, which is Ottawa. It's really close. It's not relatively close, I guess. It's Nebraska close. To the scheme. And then we've had others that say they love the 2-day event. And then we've kind of went back and forth. Are we going to have more racers? Are we going to keep the style where we just bombard testing tunes and stuff like that? I mean, it's kind of all up in the air, to be honest. It's kind of a well-supported event, especially with the weather. So, I mean, like I said, it's kind of hard to say really where it's headed right now, but I guess it's headed to happen again next year is what I'll say.
That's awesome. And, you start looking at 3 tracks, racing at 3 different tracks, man, that gets, now you're like, whew, that's a lot of racing.
Yeah, it gets to be quite a lot of racing and a lot of driving. I mean, that track's not any closer. I mean, haven't done the math, but it might be a 750-mile trip or so in 3 days. It might be more than that. I would have to look at it. We haven't even gotten that close. So.
Wow, that's intense. Yeah, it's hard to make that change after an event. Like, okay, now I'm ready to do 24, but man, there's still so much of 23. People posting content, and like as a promoter, you've got to reward the people that came. So you got to start posting. You keep posting about them, and you guys have done a great job about that. Let's talk a little bit about the weather. I think somebody said snow at one point.
Oh yeah, it was wild. Like I said, Doug and Joe of I-29 and Kearney and Nicole, man, they bent over backwards for us. It was rough. We were back and forth the week before. It started it was like 55 and sunny. Then it went down to like 39 and snowing and back and forth. And then finally we took off. And I think I-29, we started our best case at like 47 degrees and 30-mile-an-hour winds. So it was pretty brisk, to say the least, there. And then we woke up Saturday morning, and I left the hotel room, and I think it was 31 degrees and it was snowing. And everyone that was on the trip was posting up pictures of them using their wipers in snow, and it was quite eventful.
Yeah, I would say so, because there's a lot of guys that, especially like with, Eric lives in Illinois, so you guys are kind of above that Kansas City line where it gets a little chilly. It stays chilly longer, right?
Yeah.
So, a lot of the race cars have been put up for a long time, and typically race cars don't have defrost. So,
yeah, some of them I don't have wipers either. I know that's kind of something a lot of guys do to lose weight. They'll pull the wipers and stuff, and man. This event is not a car. That's not a mod you want to do to your car for this event, I guess.
That's right.
So was there any, or did you have any favorite cars or favorite route stops or anything from the event?
I mean, I had the favorite route stop. That's kind of easy. We have a track, Motorsports Park, Hastings, Nebraska. It's actually a road course or whatever, but they have Friday night drags there, which is like a 600-foot drag with a stoplight. That was kind of cool to show people that this happens, and maybe to come out and play on that. It's a pretty cool track we like playing with. The car deal, that's kind of hard. The Gherkin, that is a show car on wheels. I mean, it's a gorgeous car. Andrea, I'm sure I'm going to pronounce her name wrong, Beeler. She has that El Camino with an LSA in it, and it's a shaved engine bay. It's painted. I mean,
that car's gorgeous. That's like when Tom McGilton built the Why Not Camaro, that's the powertrain out of that's in that car. You know what I mean? Like,
my wife loves El Caminos, so we brought her over there, and we were talking to Andrea. She's like, I really don't want to add any more power because the engine's special to me, with it being her dad's car. So that's a pretty cool thing. And then I was really surprised. There's a group, I don't know all of them. They're the Mass Boys, and they all have turbocharged Gen 3 Hemis. Like, I didn't even know those existed in Nebraska. And there was 3 or 4 of them that showed up like that. That was pretty cool. and all them guys, it was kind of wild. Yeah, they showed up for tech, and they didn't have air horns, or they had air horns or to make it work for tech. And we met them, and they were stopped at a Napa, I don't know, 60 miles down the route, all putting horns on their car. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, you're like, you've already made tech. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I was like, man, you guys are with this. So
that's great.
Yeah, very cool.
What kind of cars were they?
I don't know they're Dodge Darts.
Nice.
They're earlier ones. I don't know my Mopar stuff.
Me either.
But they're cool. I'm trying to think of, we had a couple of diesel trucks. It's kind of cool to see those guys come out and play. I think only one made it. We got a sleeper wagon my buddy Ty has. I mean, there's so many cool stuff that shows up. It was actually kind of wild as, everyone complains about there being so many Fox bodies at every race. This was like an F body meet. I don't know if we had like 15 F bodies or something. It was crazy.
Wow. That is so cool.
So do you plan on keeping the event in April with all the weather? Do you plan on moving it? Do you have any thoughts on that yet?
Yeah, we've talked about that. And, we're kind of going to talk to the tracks and see when it works for them. I don't know if we tried moving it up earlier. I know all of our tracks get pretty busy in May. Like I-29 puts on some no preps with Joey Heichel, and then Kearney gets pretty busy. So the early time frame works out good, except the weather's crazy. The weekend before it was 75 sunny, and I was getting a sunburn. It's kind of wild. We have talked about moving it to the fall though, but that you're kind of, you're just gambling there too in Nebraska.
Yep. Yeah, I can imagine. That's kind of what we look at for ours too, is we're always trying to figure out. The reason we do early April is because that was my dad's birthday, but so we always well, we're not going to move it because of that, but dang, there's been some times where it's been pretty chilly. Like you guys put up with too.
It's you're doing a drag and drive when half the participants are posting up wondering if they should put antifreeze back in their car.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, did you race this year or in your car, or were you just a promoter?
No, I was just a promoter. We took all sorts of fast Suburban.
Yeah,
it was actually kind of funny. Me and Tyler, we had a long conversation before we left Kearney, which one of our vehicles would actually make the drive-in back.
That's awesome. We got a Facebook user that says, if the sun comes out at all, you get sunburned.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's a guy that follow us around named Josh. He was on the event with his GTR. He brings out a 5-gallon bucket that says SPF 1000 and follows me around with it because people always catch me dousing up in sunscreen.
Yep, it's the cologne of gingers, that's for sure.
Yeah, that is a good way to put it.
Yeah. Well, do you have plans to race in the future? Or are you gonna, will we ever see that, or is it just like I say all the time, it's too hard?
I don't think there's any way as a promoter to race. People, you see people ask that to Matt Frost too. And
yeah, I can't imagine for him trying to do it. Good Lord.
Yeah, like I said, it's one thing to race, but man, if you were to break down and you don't show up there and stuff like that, and with the time frame of trying to get the time slips in and questions answered and stuff like that, there's just not. I don't think there's time for it. You really.
Yeah. Yep. And then who was you had a 530 car, is that right? Or 570 car? I can't remember.
533 and a 523. And I'm gonna butcher the guy's name. I think his name's Nick Lawson. It's a second gen Camaro, turbo LS, twin turbo LS with one of our sponsors, Turbos Force Performance. He has two 7875s, I believe.
That's awesome.
But that car was it was crazy. He said that he had 3 or 4 passes when he entered the tech lane on it. He just had switched it over to 4-link, and we come to this 36, 37 degree track, and I look over and he does a 533 or something like that. And I'm like, what just happened? You know, that's
Yeah.
fast for a first round no prep, let alone 36 degrees drag and drive car.
Right. Trying to, get it sorted still. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I was very impressed. And then he did one I wish I could post the video of it, but a gnarly wheelie. He did a wheelie, set it back down, got back in it, and wheelied again. I mean, he wheelied, I would say for at least 50 foot. I mean, he's power wheeled into it. I want to say about 60 foot it came up, and then he let back down. I mean, it was awesome.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Well, where can people follow you guys? Where can they see events about next year or updates about next year and all that?
Easiest place is Cruise and Lose Public. We have a participants page, but we kind of keep that separate to keep posts down for people. So don't try to add that if you're wondering why you haven't gotten added. We need to get you over on the public page. I seen someone said yes. Chris Sills went 566 too. Yes, he did. Chris Sills was the first person to do a 5 on the event too. His first pass was a 595.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, it had a huge turnout. A lot of really cool cars. What about returning people?
A lot of people.
How many folks
returned.
came from last year? Yeah.
Man, I wish I had that. I would say over half were return people.
That's great.
Which was cool. You know, they had a rough go last year. Bad weather, had to cancel one day. You know, dealing with promoters, that was his first year, stuff like that. You know, and they stuck with us, and you know, it's pretty cool of them.
That's pretty awesome. And now, so with you guys piggybacking on a test and tune, do you feel like if you what's the limit on that? Like, can you bring 75 or 80 cars, 100 cars to a test and tune?
Well, what was crazy was it was I-29's first day open, and they were expecting nobody. They were expecting nobody to show up because of how terrible the weather was. And they had to turn off tech cards. They turned off selling tech cards because they sold too many.
That's great.
I mean, which is what we set out to do.
Yeah.
We set out to support our local tracks. I don't think I need to tell you guys we're losing racetracks left and right, and I don't want my 2 local ones to be another statistic. So that's why we started it. So that's kind of, you know, we've talked to both managers, and they both feel like they can handle the cars. You know, now if it would have been the first day, 80 degrees, you know, it might have been rough at night, you know, but they get cars through pretty fast.
Cool. And then, you know, what we've really seen lately is that there's been very few, even the cars that are put together right before the event are still, you know, we always say built for drag and drive, but that means they've got that extra step of trying to keep everything together. So we're seeing a lot fewer oil downs than we were even looks like a few years ago.
Yeah. You know, and we got real lucky with that. We didn't have any oil downs. We had the Gherkin, the Green Nova. He had one slight brush with the wall, but other than that, we didn't have to stop. We were extremely lucky with that, especially since a lot of these cars were the first time they've been down the drag strip this year too.
Yeah.
Did you have any roadside repair stories or anything like that?
You know, like I said, I don't really think anyone had to. You know, there was a guy, and they escaped my mind right now, but he had a C10 Chevy truck, and man, they were working on it all the time. They and they actually worked on it. I mean, I think every hour or two during the drive, and then they pushed the crank seal out, and it was a blower setup, so it's a pretty big deal to change. And they ended up slapping something together so they could finish it and make a pass. We ended up giving them an award for that. It was they worked for probably 3 or 4 hours just to make one pass at the track, just to say they completed. It was pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you know, it's funny, a lot of the weekend stuff, I don't think we're going to see quite the thrash that you would on like a national level or a week-long event, because you're not 300 or 400 miles from home and have to make that repair. A lot of times we're within a couple hours. Josh here, I have no idea how to say his last name, but he said had to change 2 or 3 batteries. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, there is a guy, and I want to say his buddy Jared Aspergen. He has a Z01 Camaro. They both were having charging issues. I think Joey had to change his alternator, and then Aspergen was changing 4 or 5 different batteries along the route to keep going because he didn't want to change. He couldn't get back to a place that had an alternator, so he was changing batteries out till he got to a place with an alternator. It was pretty wild too.
That sounds more expensive than alternators.
Yeah, I kind of get you guys are refreshing my memory of all the things. It was kind of as a promoter, you kind of get blurred out to all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard. That's what people, we try and give them to understand is like you're literally trying to think, okay, how can I give these people the best experience they have and still watch racing? I think I watched like 5 passes total.
I know. I think it was right at the end of I-29. I had to walk up to the track and I smelt a burnout. I'm like, wow, this is the first time I've smelt burnt rubber at this event. That's wild.
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. We need my next big purchase is a golf cart because I think I could cover so much more ground if I had just something I could jump on and drive 10 miles an hour just somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. We've talked about that or some little electric scooters to take in there. But yes, some transportation would be awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. I think that is one of our things for next for the purchase for this year for sure with some of our sponsorship agreements. What else, man? Now that some stuff is coming back to you, Mary Slevin here says winners also got wrestling belt trophies. That's so cool.
Yeah, the trophies were pretty cool. Maggart, where he works, he's able to kind of play with the laser. So we ended up having like no trophies at the start of the week and ended up the week with 3 trophies to give to us. So he made some, out of scrap metal, and I spray painted them in my garage. And then we had these wrestling belts come in that we weren't so thrilled with. That's why we started with a different trophy. And then our buddy Jeff Greer, he wasn't a sponsor, but he owns a trophy company. He ended up giving us some custom Yeti cups that he engraved with the event on them to give out. So that was pretty cool. There was a girl in high school that won our 850 class. Her name's Kelly Hoff. She's the guy that runs, I can't think of his name. I think Brooks that runs the reaction time deal.
Oh
yeah. He sponsors her, but I thought that was pretty cool to have a lady in high school win. So
yeah, and especially like an index class like that, it's the racing in that is pretty tight.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. There was a lot of people that brought their kids along. There's one guy that brought his nephew along and had him race. Like, I really enjoy seeing like the father-daughter, father-son, family members racing. That it's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was kind of cool to see the amount of small tire cars we had. They switched classes, before they turned in their first slip. But at one point, we had wrote down 20 people in small tire, which was crazy because the first year we had basically begging people to turn a slip in that class.
Yeah. And now what is small tire at your event?
It's basically just anything goes on a 275 or a 28 10.5.
That's awesome.
Like I said, Chris Sill's car was gorgeous. That definitely had the potential at some point to win. Nick Lawson, I've never met that guy. That car is awesome. I think we're going to see a lot of his car out soon. And then there's a guy named Jeff Town. He was one of our sponsors too. He actually ended the week. I think he broke a strange brake mounting bracket or something on the front end. Something like that stranded him, and he just that was the end of it for him.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Well, I do want to ask, how did you come up with the name? How did you come up with Cruise and Lose?
Oh, that's a good one. So we have this group on Facebook that started out as basically a crap talking group. I mean, in the early like 2015, 2014 era, like people were legitimately mad on that group. Well, it's kind of progressed where we've all got older and less of that stuff goes on. But it's always kind of been like no sugarcoating stuff, like,
Yeah.
So we were just sitting around pizza like how we started, and we were just throwing out names, and I threw out cruise and lose because you're a loser if you don't win type deal. And it stuck. I don't know.
Yeah.
We kind of wanted it to be different too. We didn't want to be, drag and drive weekend or, something like that. We wanted something that like you hear it and wonder what the heck that is.
Right. Well, I wish I had the album pulled up because you guys have like your trophies were not a loser.
Yeah.
That was the header on the trophy, which is pretty cool.
Maggart came up with that, and that was pretty good. I really enjoyed that. A lot of people got a chuckle out of it too when they were holding their trophy. So it was kind of a cool thing to add.
That's awesome. Well, Zach, I want to say thanks for coming on tonight. We do want to know, I mean, obviously if you host one, you have to attend one. So what's your drag and drive schedule like for the year?
I for sure going to go watch a few days of Rocky Mountain Race Week, but my since it's starting and stopping in Kearney, that's about 35 miles from my house. But
nice.
I'm really trying to get my car back together. My car was a mid 10-second stick shift nitrous deal with AC, just a fun street car. And I took it apart, and basically it's coming back to run 4s in the 8th or bust. And
wow.
And it's about done. It's been a heck of a process. I've got to use a lot of the sponsors that actually sponsored Cruise and Lose. Wishman Performance, Force Performance, and Gary Hydros all have parts on that car.
Nice.
So I'm really going to try to get that back together. I'd love to come do your event or something local, smaller to me. I've done some things in my personal life where I don't have as much paid time off as I do. So a week-long event really isn't really able to happen right now. Maybe in a year or two. But that's my goal, is to get the thing back out and at least make some passes at some point.
Yeah. You got to have a race car to race, man.
Yeah. I know I was watching earlier about the cheap budget car builds, and me and my wife, we did that before we were married. We did a DSM, real budget car, and we call it Poor Girl DSM. And like the stories you get with the cheap garbage car like that was, we had a $300 engine we bought off Marketplace that had the main caps on backwards, and we swapped them, didn't even change bearings, retorqued it, a $90 turbo that was rusted in the trunk, just all sorts of stuff. And that thing ended up going 7-1 in the 8th, and we had $3,000 total in it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then I think you had told a story on the last time you were on about a van, like you guys were running vans or something too.
Yeah,
right?
Kearney does this a Race Nice, a minivan mayhem. So I had taken a $300 Dodge Caravan that had taken a deer hit, and I had yanked out the fenders to get it so it won't rub tires. And then I only had a dry kit laying around, and I wanted to know how to add fuel. So I filled the washer fluid tank of the minivan full of C16 and plumbed it into the intake. So I held the washer fluid button while I was spraying nitrous.
Nice.
And on the 150 shot, that van went 14.4 at 98. And it would have went 13s with tires. It would spin through the 60-foot. It was just nuts. The front diff didn't know what to do because it would go back and forth between tires and pull you all over the track. It was that event was great the first year, and the second year we had it, we had no blow-ups the first year, and then everyone tried to cross the threshold from 150 shot to 200 shot.
Yep.
And everyone's blowing up. I knocked the head gaskets out so hard of a Caravan, it didn't even have compression on the starter. It would spin, just free spin.
Yes, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, like I said, everybody's got to have a car they don't care about at some point in their life.
Like I said, if you want to have the most fun, get a cheap car. I mean, and I've learned that too with this new build. It's not as fun as something with a $300 engine.
That's exactly right. Well,
So
man, I want to say thanks. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, do you think we'll ever see a drag and drive event with cars that are all budget cars? So like a $5,000 or less budget.
You know,
For-
I would love to see something like that,
Yeah.
or at least just have a bunch of classes dedicated to cars like that. I love seeing thrown together garbage. I mean, that is stuff I live for. You know,
So in the group, we're talking about like a $5,000 or $6,000 budget and what you can run for that kind of money.
you know, our DSM, it went 7-1 in the 8th, and the pass before that it went 7-3 at 11:48. And anyways, it would have probably went 10s if it wouldn't have shot the turbo apart. Like I had the wastegate cap. You can buy my same turbo that I had ran on that for $97 off eBay. You know,
wow.
And we actually tried to go 10s twice. The first one we exploded the turbo, didn't work, so we tried it again the next week and blew up the turbo within 2 passes. So they won't go 10s in an auto DSM.
That's pretty intense. So,
but I do think you'll have a lot of 10-second cars in that $5,000 or $6,000 range. I don't know how deep you'll get them into the 10s, but you'll see a bunch.
Yep. Well, I mean, you think about like $5,000. I mean, Nico Cristoferi LS swapped Fox Body Mustang for like right at the $1,200 mark. So if you had time and you had the resources, I mean, now you're talking a cam or just a turbo and valve springs, and you're suddenly making 400 easy, 450 maybe. And
yeah, I actually, which is wild. Just for instance, I had bought it was kind of a crazy deal, but I bought a 2013 6-speed or a 6R80, which is the auto Coyote Mustang for $4,000 last year. I did end up selling it, but there's if you wait and watch and have cash, sometimes you can get things that you shouldn't be able to get things. And that car, the guy I sold it to, he went 1260, not doing anything to it. So
wow, that's pretty intense.
No, like I said, I also wouldn't be mad to have some sort of class where it's a bone stock car with a nitrous kit and that's it. That would be kind of cool too.
Yep. That'd be fun. I think we can see a lot of challenges, and like as the drag and drive community grows and we get more and more sponsors within it, and we see some stuff kind of like what Redhat Scotty did, people will come in and maybe that is a nitrous company sponsors a nitrous only class, and it's everybody uses the same kit. Like if you're going to buy it, it's almost like a group buy. Hey, can we get 10 people that are going to buy this nitrous kit for this class or for this challenge? I guess what we would say. We always try to make sure folks fit in another class. That way the rules don't have to be specific for that. And then the sponsor sets the challenge. So makes it pretty easy.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool to have, you have to buy your this nitrous kit to end this class, and that it'd be cool. It'd be cool to do like a event bottle too, to get something like that going.
Yeah. Do a group buy of some kind. Well, cool. Well, Zach, thanks again, dude. I appreciate you coming on. A lot better audio this time, man.
Yeah. This worked out way better.
Yep, for sure. Well, we're excited to see what's going to come for 2024 Cruise and Lose. And if you guys didn't hear it earlier, you can find Cruise and Lose Public, spelled out, Cruise and Lose Public, on Facebook. It's a great group. Tons of, just like all the other drag and drive communities on Facebook, you go in there and there's people talking about drag and drive events and what they're doing to their car and all that kind of stuff. Somebody says here, fair market value is the killer. That is kind of the struggle with these cheap events, is because you may have only given $300 for that turbo 400 with a trans brake and, full rebuild and stuff like that. But just that may have been a buddy of yours.
Yeah, that is where that class gets rough, and that's where it's hard to put a dollar figure. You almost have to do something where it's, it's in the spirit of the class type deal. If you pull up the hood and it has aluminum heads on it that are aftermarket, or a $5,000 ECU, you're like, well, this isn't really
right.
Yeah, but I only gave $1,500. That was kind of the struggle with Austin's car, was that a put together Fox Body Mustang's worth $3,000. Well, but he gave $700 for it. because it was in pieces.
Yeah.
So like he fits the rules, but like when you start looking at fair market value, it becomes difficult. So, okay, well, cool. Well, we've got to talk about the world champion, the Drag and Drive world champion. So we're going to let you go. Thank you very much for coming on and spending some time with us tonight for sure. We appreciate that. And we will cut down this portion of the episode for a standalone video for you to share across the Cruise and Lose public page and all that kind of stuff too. So thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Yep,
All right. Thank you guys. You have a good one.
You too.
Hey, thanks you too. Man, I'm telling you, I love all the events that are coming. I love all the stuff that is happening with everything within the Drag and Drive community. And guys, this one here, man, it's near and dear to my heart. I want you guys to understand what this can do for the community is big. It's, a little bit like it takes us to that next step within the, growth of the sport. Summit Racing obviously coming on, being a huge part of the Drag and Drive Addiction group with the show and the news, and all of our racer lists are brought to you by Summit Racing. So in those conversations, we had looked at a couple different options and a couple different ideas. And obviously, if you put good things into the world, good things come back to you. Lonnie Tibbs came to me and was like, "Hey, I think what you're doing is good. Let's take it to that next level. Here's an idea that I think would work." And guys, we've just gone bananas with it. Lonnie and I have had long conversations on the phone together. Eric and I have had conversations on the phone and on here about what can become of the world champion and why it is so important for the sport. But what has also happened is that now we're not looking at just US and Canada anymore. We're looking at, the UK and Australia, and who knows, there's, if you think about it, there's no Drag and Drive events in South America. There's no Central America Drag and Drive events. So it's still such a very small community that I think with something like this allows people to come in that have never seen it, that now are going to find out about it. And it actually has opened up some doors for some podcasts that I'll be on as a guest, which is strange, right? It seems pretty interesting to be a guest now. Instead of me asking people about stuff, somebody will be asking me about things. So I'm recording those next week. And so this Drag and Drive World Champion presented by Summit Racing is going to be great. And the stuff we're going to talk about tonight is kind of a teaser, because Eric and I are going to dig deep and talk about where the standings are for people. We're going to go for all that kind of stuff on Saturday morning during the Drag and Drive News. That entire episode is going to be dedicated to the Drag and Drive World Champion presented by Summit Racing. Again, this is an award that is a points series. Now, one thing that's cool is we are only allowing your top 3 finishes from national level events. Okay. A national level event is 4 days or more of racing with a single pass requirement every day, a minimum of 150 cars per, or 150 racers on day one, teched in, registered, and racing. Okay. So there are some stipulations there, and there will be some events that won't make that number, and that will create some pretty interesting things. So it will make, on the promoter side, it will make us work harder. It'll make us do more and things like that. We will also have a regional style champion of these weekend events, because I feel, and Summit feels, and everybody within the Drag and Drive Addiction group feels, weekend events are the gateway into the week-long events. So obviously events like, the circuit, Cruise and Lose, all of the other stuff that's coming up, King of the Open Road, all that kind of stuff is going to bring those people, and they're going to experience this event community, and they're going to want to do a national level event. And if you do enough, because we're capping your best 3 events, so somebody can't just run off with the points just because they attended, this is going to be somebody that we're going to be proud to award the world champion. This is going to be somebody that goes to an event that is a consistent winner, that is running a faster car, most likely will win this. And then you're going to have to do that 3 times. So think about that. This is going to take somebody that builds a car built specifically for Drag and Drive. This isn't going to be some race car ragged edge deal that may come out and do it. This is going to be a racer that methodically thinks about their car. Like Jerry and Matt Sweet would have been serious contenders last year. They would have almost won it based on the point series that we're going to release on Saturday. They would have almost won 2022. Cletus McFarland would have almost won 2022, and he won overall 2 events and he was the only racer to run 3 consecutive 7-second ET averages across national events. So a lot of micro records like that I know don't make sense to people, but I'm telling you, things like that are going to come into play for this world champion deal. But the person that would have won it would have been Glenn Hunter, which is crazy. But if you think about it, Glenn, his finish rate is so high because he's built that car over time. And that car is fast. That car is a proven 7-second car. It would have scored, obviously, the most points that we would have seen. But it's also because not only is he a fast car with a 7-second car, but he also places well in the class that he races in. So he's a pro street racer. So when he comes in to do an event like this, he's looking at that. He's looking at the entry for that class. This isn't, and he's not racing in classes that are just lay down classes either. So pretty impressive stuff. I'm really pumped to see. So the plan is to have Saturday morning's episode go through where guys stand right now, because we've also had sick week and we've had the drag challenge in the UK or Australia. I can't remember where it was, the drag challenge. So those 2 races will actually put the point series together. And I haven't updated our drag and drive top 100 with the racing from the drag challenge yet either. So I'm going to do that as well. So I've got a busy week ahead of me. Some late nights I'm going to be burning the candle at both ends. And I'm really pumped about this, just because it is going to allow just that next level of racer that we've seen come out. But, you know, other than spending time with your friends and maybe getting some redemption if you didn't do as well in one event, what has been the purpose to go to 2 or 3 or 4 national level events? Now you're going to have a reason.
Right.
And so the plan is to, the guys that are going faster, that are single digit cars, will most likely have the best opportunity at this. And we are also guys that are, street machine eliminator guys and index racers. We're coming up with ways and a point series for you as well, for the double digit cars. The reason this, awards a faster car is, one, it is a harder thing to run a faster car than necessarily something that's maybe 12 seconds that you can go buy from the showroom floor. And that is the purpose of that. But what I know of index racing and things like that, and all of those people that we get to hang out with at these events, that is a hard class too. That is so hard to run that dial and run that number. So again, the world champion is going to be somebody that comes out and performs at every event that they go to. And I like that we're capping it so somebody can't just run away with the points just because they attended. So it's pretty exciting and lots of fast stuff. But I will tell you, it is a ton of data manipulation and looking at everything, because it has to be right, one, and then 2, we have to make sure that everything is going to be good on the end of the racers. And we want so many people to take notice of this that are outside of the drag and drive community, that will look at this and be like, oh man, I've got to go attempt that, which is our goal. With 30 events and an average of 100, and I think it was 160, if you averaged them all out across at max capacity, that's almost 5,000 racers we're going to see in a community that previously only had about 1,800 racers. And I think in 2021, there were only like 800 unique racers out of like 1,300 or 1,400 total. So I don't remember what the number is for 2022 yet, but that's pretty intense. So going almost tripling our community, I guess you would say, is pretty wild to think about that going into 2023. And again, we're awarding this world champion and any subsequent awards. We're going to do that at the PRI 2023, which is early December, for the Drag and Drive Awards. Y'all, this is going to be we're going to get a room. We're going to do this. We're going to have trophies. We're going to have all kinds of cool stuff. I've already been talking to some trophy manufacturers about some really cool stuff. And we have something really, really cool planned for the world champion that we're not going to release until I have it in my hand, which is going to be another couple months. So it's pretty exciting. And then one thing you guys have seen is obviously Eric dropping the memes, which has been great because it has been a ton of fun to see his creativity. So we want to bring some of those in and all that kind of stuff. So, dude, what else do we got?
We're definitely gonna see more memes. I actually have one already queued up for Saturday, so you haven't even seen it. So we'll release that one Saturday. Anthony says the new shirt is live, so I do have it pulled up again for anybody that missed it earlier. This is a pre-order only. It's going to run from the 26th of this month until the 20th of next month. Parking lot beers and trailer burnouts, hashtag race car friends. It is live on the website right now. Go get you one.
Yeah, dragondrive.com/shop. You can find that. And then again, guys, Saturday morning is the next time we are live, and we're going to be digging into this world champion, Dragon Drive World Champion, brought to you by Summit Racing. Can I get a spot on that trip? Bring it on. Let's go. Hey, dude, you want to go to PRI? Bring it on. We'll get you in. We'll get you in for sure. All right, y'all. Thank you very much for hanging out tonight. We've had awesome guests. We've talked about all kinds of crazy stuff tonight. It's gonna be great. And then next week's show is gonna be great as well. We're gonna have, like I said, Alexandria Garcia, our newest Dragon Drive Addiction team member, on, and we'll be kind of talking about her 8-second street-driven daily driver S550 Mustang that is twin turbo. I mean, it's her only car that gets around, and everybody has probably seen the burnout she did at the circuit. And I want you guys to know that that was on a set of ET Street drag radials. So like, it wasn't some old cheap, crappy street tires. She laid it down on some real sticky stuff. And anytime you can do that, do the level of burnout she did, I can't imagine the rocks that were kicked up as she cruised down Main Street of Galena, Kansas. So, all right, guys, we'll see you then. Thank you very much. See you Saturday morning.
Yep. Bye.